good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whenever it is that you're watching this video. Um, Welcome to Life and Poetry with Marcus T. This guy. Um, if you guys watched the previous video, the video that came out a couple weeks ago, maybe a week or two ago, we announced that we are back here on the channel, and that I touched on me wanting to give you guys some type of understanding as to why we took the break from the channel to begin with. And we're going to dive into that today a little bit there. The videos after this is going to jump into content on which you're going to create. But before we jump at anything, guys, if you'd like to, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Once you've done that, please be sure to turn on that notification bell so that you can be notified every time we drop a video here on the channel. Yeah, so I'm rusty. I'm really shaking the rust off here. We really dust off the cobwebs as we record these videos here. So just please bear with me. As if I stumble, you know, this is just me being my authentic self before you. But yeah, so we are back here on YouTube. Excuse me. I know that I had mentioned in the farewell video that I would be leaving the YouTube platform for specific reasons. Nothing bad, but it had to be done in the manner that it was, and we're going to talk about it. So let's jump into it, right? Let's jump into it, right? So we left YouTube with the notion that would be the last you saw of me on the YouTube platform, in the YouTube sphere, whatever you want to call it. But it was simply because I had to step back. There was a lot of stuff going on that you guys didn't know about. A lot of stuff that was happening that I didn't even know about until I took time to sit down and assess and reflect on things that were happening. And it again, like I said, it wasn't nothing bad. It was just time to put me first. I love creating content. It's fun. It's enjoyable. And I'm learning a lot about me as I'm doing it. But I also learned that I wasn't taking care of self in the process. What do I mean by that? Guys, if you guys are content creators, you post on social media, whatever you choose to do, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you're posting your content, you guys know that it can be a strenuous thing to keep up with deadlines, to keep people engaged, to keep up with these new innovative ideas. It's a lot to do, and it's fairly taxing on the individual. I'll speak for myself. It was taxing for me. It was draining to the point that I felt like I was just in a cycle. I was on an autopilot. I was going through creating content. I had the big board. Up to the board right there. I had the board up, and we were just creating dates and stuff. You know, creating content. Now and then there's important dates, doctor's appointments, other things we're doing, business ventures, appointments. Just things we have to do throughout the week. Whether it's engaging with doctors or having planning activities for my wife and I's godchildren, our nieces and nephews, so on and so forth. But that's fun. I enjoy doing that because I do that on my time. I do that on my own accord. There is nobody pressuring me to do so. It's not oh, that means stay relevant if I'm doing this or if I'm not doing this, so on and so forth. Even as you see me recording, I'm in a space where you see around me, right? This is raw me. This is raw me. You don't see a blank wall behind me. I'm not sitting on the chair. I'm sitting at the desk where you can see everything back here, right? I didn't blur the video out for a reason. Because this is my true form. When I'm writing, I'm typically in a space of everything moving. When I'm recording, I'm in a space of standstill, right? Oh, this can't happen. You can't hear that in the background. You can't do this here. Like if you could hear it, the heat is on right now, and it's fairly it's kind of noisy a little bit. I don't care about that anymore. But before I was thinking about how can I edit this sound, or how can I mute out my stutter, how can I enunciate my words a bit more so you don't hear my lisp. And now in my reflection time, I noticed that as raw as I wanted the channel to be, there was still a lot of stuff that was happening that took away from the authenticity of the rawness, if you will. And I said to myself that this isn't what I started this for. I started Life and Poetry, the brand, the channels, the content, to share my poetry, to share my story with you guys, to share me, my journeys through things, the book journeys, the journey through the diagnoses, all these things that were happening. That's what I wanted to be, but then it kind of got away from it a little bit. We were just creating content to create content. And again, I sat back in my reflection time and I began to break down the do's and don'ts, what I had for myself, what I was going to do and what I wasn't going to allow myself to do or become. And I was very, I was very off to those, the don'ts, more often than the do's. And I looked at it and I said, I was sitting with God, I'm sitting in my prayer time. And if you don't know, this is what you're about to find out, that I don't make a move without God say so. If you've been following me on any of my channels, any of the platforms, you would know that when I move with His excellence and in obedience to His word, His way for my life. It was by His word that I even started creating content on YouTube, that I started the TikTok channel, that I started what I was doing on Instagram, as I was sharing my poetry, as I was writing these books. It was all by His fruition, His direction. And I'm staying true to that no matter what I do in life. So I went back to reflection time, and my reflection time is my prayer time. My prayer time is when I'm intimate with God. I'm intimate with my Creator. And I sat with Him one day and I was like, God, I'm tired of trying to be this for that and trying to get to this height and do all these things here. When I remember Him telling me, and I made a vow to Him, I said, I'm not doing this for the views. And I believe I made this vow to you guys as well. I wasn't doing this for the views of the acolytes or the recognition. I was doing this to share my story, my testimony with you guys, and whatever came with that. Because it doesn't just stop at one thing. It branches out to multiple areas, guys. Like the overcoming of the HIV diagnosis, or the overcoming of me learning to walk again. All these things that were happening, and I was getting away from the true goal. So I took time off and I went back to God, and I said, God, I'm going to end this here. We're going to stop. We're going to end YouTube. Let me be specific in particular. I want to end this as in YouTube, in that season I was in, because it wasn't where I wanted to be. And in that time of reflection, I remember God speaking to me before when I first started this journey. And He said to me that it was my responsibility to make it my own. In a nutshell, not allow things around me to dictate my story and how to tell it. And I felt like that was about to start happening. The censorship, the being sure to stay away from certain words or certain phrases. And I was like, I can't tell my story without giving you the goriness of it all, or the detail and depth of what happened. And some people can't swallow it, and I understand it. I get it. There were times I couldn't even swallow my own story, my own testimony, because it was so, in certain areas, it was so abrasive, it was so direct, it was so throat punching, if you will, that at times I would just be lost for words myself. And I felt like I was getting away from that. And it may not have seemed like that to you guys, but behind the scenes, I know what was happening and where we were going with things. And I know that I was starting to see that the numbers were changing, and I was like, why am I so concerned about these numbers? But it played this part in my head, and I was telling myself that the numbers don't matter. I was telling myself that, but I wasn't walking in that practice, right? I wasn't practicing what I was preaching, if you will. I was walking in a space of, if this doesn't equate to that, then this is meaningless. It's pointless to do. And I sat back in that time off, and I sat with God, and we went a lot of back and forth about what was happening. I finished the third book, Ink Spill. And as I was going through that book, it was such a therapeutic session in each piece that I put together, each piece that I wrote, each piece that I transcribed and put in order and constructed for this book here, that when I sat back and read the manuscript myself, I saw the seasons I was in through each poem I read that I had written. If you guys recall, Inkspill was a combination of old poems that never saw the light of day, that you guys never knew about, that nobody knew about but me, and some new things that I wrote as we were going through the process. But to be able to go back and reflect on the old poetry and to see where I was in those seasons and to remember the state of mind that I was in as I was writing them was so prolific and profound for me that it called for me to step back and reassess me, reassess where I was going, where I wanted to go, where I've been, so on and so forth. And then it clicked. I had the Selah moment. I went back to God. I said, God, you know what? If it's in your will, allow me to come back to the channel. Allow me to go back to doing what you told me to do, how we first started, right? Raw updates about how I'm doing, what I'm dealing with. Just giving you guys encouragement as we go along and things like that. Even sharing my poetry, even sharing how I am with those journeys like that. I'm not talking about series getting done. I'm not talking about this infrastructure of things that's happening around. No, it was as simple as writing the poetry, coming on you guys, talking to you guys about something that's on my mind, on my heart to talk to you about, something to share with you, whether it's a life update, what happened during that week, how am I feeling today, where's my mindset, where's my state of mind, the progression of me walking, those things like that is where I wanted to get back to with this channel here. And I believe that as long as I continue to stay in that prayer space, stay in a space of understanding where I am in the specific season of that time, of that month, that day, or that in that moment, it will be beneficial, not just for you guys, for me creating content for you guys to view for your viewing pleasure, but for me as well. So that as I'm recording these videos, I can go think about, man, I really made it through those things. I really came out of a situation that was supposed to leave me stranded somewhere, and it pretty much allowed me to fade away in the distance. But I'm here before you today saying that I'm okay and I'm back stronger than ever. And we're going to talk about that as we go through the channel. We're going to talk more about that, new things we overcome, new progression with walking, living with HIV, so on and so forth. We're going to talk about those things because that's my story. That's my story. It's my truth. That's why I'm living in today. And I want to say this here before we close out, guys. Every test that you go through in life, at one point or another, becomes your testimony. And your testimony isn't just for you. It's for the person that's behind you, the person that's watching you, the person that's looking, asking, how did this person get there? The person that is for the person that's saying, I'm struggling and I need somebody to pour into me. Right? I know somebody's dealing with this somewhere down the line, and I need that nugget. I need that piece of wisdom. I need that insight, that encouragement, that push, that boost. That's what your testimony is for. So no longer hold it to yourself. I encourage you to share it with somebody that you don't know, somebody that's been watching you for years and trying to mimic your resilience in a way of seeing how you overcame what you were going through. Because you never know who it might save, who it may touch, who it may enlighten. It goes a long way. I've been through the trenches with these things here, with this testimony of mine. I've been through the good areas and the bad areas. I've been through the doubt and the self-reflections. I've been through it all, right? And I do my best to share it with everybody. Anybody who wants to know, anybody who asks questions about it, ask the questions. I'm no longer afraid to answer those questions as I was at the beginning of time, at the beginning space, because it was raw. It was really raw back then. But I got to a space whereas that I'm understanding now that my testimony isn't for me. It isn't for me. I went through the test. I went through the struggle. I went through the trials, the tribulations, the storms, whatever you want to call it, the turbulence, and all these things. I went through the pain, the aching, the bruises, and the bashing, the bleeding, the whelps. I've been through it all, right? But I came out shiny and new, right? Came out shiny and new. And by the grace of God, I'm still here before you today, letting you know that it does get better if you just keep going. Keep believing in yourself and keep pressing in with everything you got. Even in your hard days, keep pushing in, keep pressing in. Even in your tired days, stand up, shake it off, give it just a little bit more, give it a little bit more, and press in. And allow those who are in your circle, right, to pour into you too. Allow them to help you when you need help. Allow them to give you that hand, and allow yourself to lean on God. Allow yourself to lean on God because He will carry you through some of the darkest and toughest times in your life. Even if you don't understand or don't believe it, that's fine. For those of you who do, trust me when I say this here. God will carry you when you can't walk on your own. I'm a living testament of that. Trust me, I am. Life and Poetry fam. I think that's where we're gonna that's where we at with the channel now, guys. We're positivity, encouragement, right? As I say, positive vibes only here. As we move forward with life updates, like I said, on the walking, the living with HIV, and how I'm feeling in those moments, guys. It's going to be a great season. I feel that this season is a season of harvesting. For every seed that we've sown in the past, every seed that we sown yesterday. We know that yesterday isn't just the day that came for today, but every day that was prior to today, every day that was prior to the season that you're now, guys. This is our season of harvest. And we've sold so many things over the years. And it is my belief, that almost my anointing, that God is doing things in this season. They're going to leave you in shock and awe, with mouths wide open and hands stretched out as we prepare to receive the bounty that He has for us. But like what you family, guys, again, guys, it's stay tuned for the ride. Stay tuned as we move forward in this thing here called Life and Poetry, right, guys? And again, guys, please remember, please, if you want to, no pressure, like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell. And again, stay tuned, guys. And remember that it's never goodbye. It's never goodbye. So, true fashion. We'll see you next time. We out. Peace.